About 100 years ago, France did the first and last useful thing they had ever done in their entire life, and that was exporting this unique, new, cool design style to the rest of the world, including the United States, called Art Deco. It did reach the US in the late 20s, early 30s, and it influenced everything we were manufacturing at the time. Anything from clothing, jewelry, household appliances, all the way to how we make skyscrapers in New York were influenced by Art Deco, and later on it even seeped into our automotive and motorcycling industry. In fact, in the mid-30s, American motorcycle manufacturers began to incorporate Art Deco into the design of their motorcycles, combined with their V-twin engines. Popular engine, popular design, called for a popular motorcycle that became its own genre of motorcycling called the American Cruisers. These American Cruisers were already popular for the attributes that I just mentioned, but later on during World War I and World War II, these bikes, these American Cruisers, being the winning machines of the war, because the US won both of those wars as a leading winner party, gave these motorcycles even more connotation of victory, power, and success. And after these wars, obviously these motorcycles were portrayed like it's no one's business in music videos and Hollywood movies, driving its popularity through the roof. At this time, all other non-American motorcycle manufacturers were looking at this and were like, I want what they are having. I want what Indian is having. I want what Harley Davidson is having. I want these motorcycles. So they started to duplicate these American Cruisers, and the first one to do so was Honda in 1983 with their Honda Shadow, which we have a 2024 brand spanking new example of in front of us. And later on in 85, Kawasaki joined the party with their Vulcan. And in 1997, Yamaha joined the party with their V-Star. And in 2001, Suzuki with the Boulevard. But this is the OG non-American American Cruiser. And this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to go wheel to wheel and everything in between on this 8,400 US pesos motorcycle, and see what you're getting for a fraction of the cost compared to a Harley Davidson, and see if this bike is truly a copy of any of the current existing Harley Davidson models, or if it's its own unique thing. It just from a distance looked like a Harley Davidson. Then we're gonna get on it, go out there, ride this motorcycle, and kind of see, is it as good as a Harley? Is it better than a Harley? Is it worth getting one of these, or should you just save up and get a real Harley? And then I'm going to quantify my thoughts and give this Honda Davidson Shadow Phantom my Emmy score. Let's start by talking about what's under the hood. On this 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom, what makes it resembling an American Cruiser motorcycle, the engine being a V-twin. It's a 745cc engine that makes about 45 horsepower and about 48 foot-pounds of torque. Unlike a lot of American Cruisers, Japanese bikes like this value refinement and ease of use and functionality really over heritage. So Honda Shadows since day one to today have always been water cooled. This motorcycle is no exception, unlike a lot of American Cruisers that are still kept air cooled to this day. Does create a lot of issues for a lot of, for example, Harley Davidson owners who want to ride their motorcycle on a really hot day in traffic. They can't because the engine overheats. This motorcycle is water cooled, so you're not going to have an issue like that. This motorcycle is hooked to a 5-speed transmission, similar to a lot of American Cruisers. Again, that's why they have used the 5-speed transmission. Except Harley, as of 2006, has added a 6th gear to a lot of their motorcycles. This 6th gear is, I guess, fuel efficient and better for cruising. It's called actually a cruise drive. This motorcycle has still kept it original to the 5-speed that original Harley Davidsons were like. But anyways, this is how the 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom sounds. and the almighty power of this engine gets to the rear wheel via shaft. This motorcycle is a shaft drive, which is very un-American of Honda Shadow. If they're trying to be an American cruiser motorcycle, I don't really know of any American motorcycle that's a shaft drive cruiser. There's only one Harley Davidson, I believe is a 1942 XA, which was an experimental Harley Davidson that was shaft drive, and that's the only Harley Davidson that's shaft driven. Every other Harley is either chain or belt driven. And Indian had also one experimental-ish motorcycle that was shaft drive. Again, no major American brand that uses shaft as the mode of transportation, transfer of engine power to the wheel. I do see it a lot on European motorcycles. BMW has a lot of shaft-driven motorcycles, as well as Moto Guzzi. They all have shaft-driven motorcycles. But again, there's pros and cons, ups and downs to having a shaft-driven motorcycle. The upsides is that it's sealed from the environment. If you're riding this motorcycle in dusty environments, dust is not going to get into this drive because it's a sealed environment. And also the maintenance frequency is fewer than a chain. And when you have a chain drive motorcycle, you have to clean the chain every other gas tank, every 200-300 miles. You got to clean that chain. I don't know how often people stick to that schedule. I don't, but you should if you have a chain drive motorcycle. The downside of shaft drive is, first of all, it's heavier than a chain. Imagine all the steel used and bolted together, how much extra it weighs over just a simple chain and two sprockets. And the second, if you damage this shaft drive, it's going to be way more costly to fix than if you had a $100 chain on your motorcycle. I'm not sure exactly how much this entire assembly costs. I bet north of $1,000 US, whereas 150 bucks for a chain. But anyways, that's what you have. From that angle, you can also see something very interesting about this motorcycle, where the coolant is. Coolant is pretty important on a motorcycle. If this little bucket here cracks because of how low this is really mounted, anything hitting the motorcycle is going to crack the coolant reservoir, and if it does, it drains the coolant. You're not going to be able to cool this engine down, and it's really not air-cooled designed. Like an air-cooled engine is designed to be air-cooled because of massive surface areas provided to it. This is a liquid-cooled motorcycle. They didn't design it to be efficiently cooled down with air, and if you lose coolant, you're probably going to break something on this motorcycle. A few inches north of the coolant reservoir, you're going to see this blank here. I assume this is for the passenger foot peg here. One is on this side, one is the other side. They have blanked it out for now. I assume you can get an accessory passenger seat as well as passenger foot pegs. They don't come on the Phantom, but the Aero version of this motorcycle, the 2024 Honda Shadow Aero, which is even more classic looking than this blacked out version, that one does already come with a passenger seat, more tilted back handlebars, so you can actually have that, you know, laid back cruiser, American cruiser, old school style motorcycle. And it has passenger pegs. This one is sportified a little bit. You are a little leaned over on the motorcycle because of this like clip-on shorty handlebars, and the passenger, the pillion seat as well as the passenger foot pegs are eliminated off of this motorcycle. Now, as un-American as the shaft drive was on this motorcycle, what's very American of Honda to do here is the fact that they used absolutely no technology on this motorcycle. It's not because Honda doesn't have any of those available. After all, they have the Rebel 1100 that I made a review of. Go check that out. It's got cruise control, it's got DCT, so you don't even have to change your own gear. It's got all kinds of equipment on it. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have this Honda Shadow Phantom that for 2024, the biggest and baddest boast that Honda did was the addition of ABS to this motorcycle. And that comes as an option. It's not added to all of them. You can choose one like this one that doesn't have an ABS at all. It doesn't even have tachometer if you don't want if you don't need that. You don't get it here. I mean, look at the dashboard. It's just one piece of plastic with one single odometer just to show your speed. It doesn't even show your RPM. Headlight and tail light on this motorcycle are both halogen bulbs. It's not LED. The turn signals are, however, but that's the level of simplicity we're talking about. Cable clutch, everything is so simple on this bike, and that's really what you want when you buy a motorcycle like this. But again, I don't know why they use shaft drive, such a complex system on a simple motorcycle like this. If you know why, leave it in the comment section why you think they, instead of a chain, which is on essentially every other Honda, on this particular bike, they had to go ahead and use a shaft drive? Let me know. Now, being a cruiser motorcycle, you're probably wondering, is this a comfortable motorcycle ergonomically to go on long cruises? I mean, it's the name of the motorcycle. Can you get on this motorcycle and go long distances without getting tired? Well, why don't we start with the seat height? It's really low. It's at around 25.6, 26 inches of seat height, which is really short. In fact, if I stand right next to it, I mean, look at it. The bike is way down there. I mean, I can't even reach it with the tip of my fingers if I don't bend my back. It's that low. So you're going to be comfortable. But the next question is, are you going to have a lot of bent knee on this bike if you sit on it? Well, not really, because it's got highway pegs. The pegs are way up front, unlike the Rebel from Honda, which is a more modern cruiser from Honda. Your feet are really over here on that motorcycle, or more like down here on that motorcycle, but on this one it's way up there. You're gonna have a comfortable lower half, but technically on the Phantom, you're supposed to be a little hunched over because it's a sporty bobber style cruiser, whereas the Aero version of this motorcycle, so the 2024 Honda Shadow Aero, that one's got handlebars that come all the way to back here. So when you grab the handlebars on that motorcycle, you're essentially upright. On this one, you gotta have to lean over a little bit to reach the handlebars. So this is how you're gonna look on the 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom. Vroom, vroom. And with all of that out of the way, I think you and I are ready to take this motorcycle out on the road and give it a try. But before we do that, a huge shout out to Everett Power Sports for allowing us to get our hands on this brand new 0 miles on the odometer motorcycle and show you guys how it works, how it looks from different angles. Go check them out. I put a link to their dealership in the description section of this video, as well as a link to this motorcycle and the Aero version of this motorcycle. They have both of these for sale. Go check out these motorcycles and Everett Power Sports. With all of that, let's go and ride this bike. All right, so the key is down here. Switch it to on. It's funny that the speedometer does not go a 0 to 120 test right and back to show you it's working. Just stays there. But anyways, this is the dashboard. 3 lights here: high beam, neutral, and fuel light. There's no fuel gauge either. Typical. Okay. Oh, this is pass, high beam, low beam, pass, horn. And the turn signal does not tell you which direction is left on when it blinks, but it just blinks to tell you you've left it on. Anyways, let's go. Foot peg's way up there. All right. What a rumble. I like how they put the Honda logo behind these cables. The front brakes take some getting used to because it's not that strong. Oh, keep pushing on the horn button to activate the turn signal. Nice, nice. Now, I'm not much of a cruiser guy myself. I don't really know, but I bet this is not still satisfactory sound from the exhaust for a lot of you cruiser riders. When you buy this bike, you're probably gonna put that Vance and Hines or whatever that exhaust system is called. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but anyways, because I can hear that other cruiser all the way from here. Nobody can hear me. I don't know what cruiser that was. Now that I'm on one, I notice other cruisers a lot. Oh yeah, by the way, the colors on this motorcycle, there's 2 available. One is this metallic orange and the other one is pearl gray. I don't know why they call it pearl gray. Pearl is supposed to be white, not gray, but yeah, anyways. I vibrate so much. It's like weird for a brand new motorcycle with 1 mile on the odometer to vibrate this much. It's generally, I don't know, in my mind I associate this much of unrefined feel to a bike to be attributed to a 20-30-year-old motorcycle, not a brand new one. But here we are. What's cool though is that although the motorcycle vibrates a lot, the mirrors are so well designed they don't vibrate much. Like, I mean, they do move because the whole bike is moving, the handlebar is moving, but they're not like shaky to the point where you can see an image through. I really like this color. I think this is a more exciting color than the gray one. And the Aero version of this motorcycle, the old school grandpa style one, that one has even more boring colors, honestly. I guess that's not right to call it more boring. It's less exciting for a guy like me. It's like beigey, creamy, like Cadillac color. Wow, the suspension is so good. It is not adjustable, by the way. I mean, you can see the top of the forks. There's nothing to adjust. 41mm suspensions, I believe close to 5 inches of travel. Of the changes they made to this motorcycle compared to the 2023 version, other than the colors changing all the time, you get the option to add ABS, as I mentioned during the video, and you also have the drum brake replaced with a much larger disc brake in the back, which is pretty interesting because think about it again, how retarded, how much the technology on this motorcycle has been retarded over the years, because think about it, ABS offered in 2024, drum brakes offered, I mean disc brakes offered 2024. Those are changes that motorcycles made to themselves 40 years ago. Now this motorcycle is getting them. Again, speaks to the spirit of this motorcycle. Let's see if you can even see the neutral light on when we are in neutral. I don't even know. Oh, there we go. It's very faint. Yeah, it's on, it's off. It's on, it's off. Can you even tell the difference in sunlight? I don't know. But it's cool. They have made it really old school looking. The handlebars are so thick, the diameter. It has to be a cruiser thing, because I remember when I was on the Vulcan Voyager, no, not the Voyager, oh my god, Vaquero, I want the horn again. That one also had a really thick diametered handlebar, like these grips. They're so massive instead of thin, like a sport bike that I'm used to. It's such an exciting bike. I don't know at high speed how it's gonna feel with the 5-speed and no windscreen up here. It's gonna be a hell of a ride, but again, these are the things that someone who buys this motorcycle is looking for. Again, these are the things you should know already about this bike before you go test ride it, is that it's not going to probably be the most comfortable bike. It's no Honda Goldwing at speeds above 70-75 miles per hour. Not that I know, because I didn't get a chance to take it on the freeway today, but I can just on paper tell you it's not going to be that much of a high-speed cruiser with 5 speeds and no windscreen. And the fact that the handlebars have no stabilizer, steering wheel stabilizer or handlebar stabilizer, because speed wobble, like tank slapper, could probably be an issue because there's no weight on the front wheel, being a cruiser style bike. So I wouldn't even go too fast with it if I were you. Leave me your thoughts, especially in the test ride portion of this video. What do you experience on this motorcycle on a day-to-day ride that obviously my short ride wouldn't reveal here in this video? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. What you think of this 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom, and would you buy this or would you buy the Aero version of this motorcycle? I probably have shown already pictures of it during the video to you, because I haven't done the editing here yet. I don't know if I get a chance to show those, but I will show you the Aero at some point in this video, and then you can look at it and tell me, is this the type of Honda Shadow you would buy, or the Aero one? I feel like it's going to come down to the age of the rider. Older riders probably prefer the Aero because of how much more comfortable it is and how old school it looks. Newer riders are probably going to go for this bike. Just straight up, not sugarcoating it. This one is younger rider friendly, that one is older rider friendly. Yeah, but overall this is such a fun bike. Now, compare and contrasting this to the other Honda Rebel lineup from the same manufacturer, that one does not feel like this at all. The Honda Rebels are way more refined than this motorcycle is. Let's run this, let's run this. Oh yeah. Oh shit, camera. Hopefully I didn't scratch it on the ground. My final thoughts is that if you want a refined cruiser from a company that is majorly famous for reliability, you would get the Rebel. It's more technologically advanced, it's more refined, it's more pasteurized, essentially, of a motorcycle. This one is more raw, it's got no technologies on it, and vibrates, and is old school. You get the gist of it, right? Anyways, let's go back to Everett Power Sports. Let's talk ME score for the 2024 Honda Shadow Phantom. In the commuter category, the Phantom is bare-boned. It has no electronics or safety measures, which is precisely what you want from an outlaw-spirited American-style cruiser. And this lack of features does reflect on the price because you're spending only about $8,400 MSRP. Comparing this to the Harley Davidson Nightster-base, which is the most closely related Harley Davidson model, at least engine displacement wise, to this motorcycle, the Harley costs $12,000. That's a significant price increase for a pretty similar motorcycle. Honda Shadow has been in production for decades and parts and service can be found anywhere, with close to 1,000 dealerships just across the United States. This makes for a greater commuter bike. The Shadow Phantom earns a 13 out of 20 in the commuter category. Now onto the performance/dope factor category. Obviously, you're not getting anything here as far as track-oriented tech and features go because it's a cruiser. As for power, the average of 40.5 rear wheel horsepower and 48 foot-pounds of torque is 44.25, which is in the intermediate riding category. I wouldn't recommend this level of power to an absolute beginner. But also, if you do have a lot of experience and want more cruising power at high speeds, you're better off probably going to the Rebel 1100. Sitting at 543 pounds, it is towards the middle end of cruiser weight spectrum. Kawasaki Vulcan and Harley Davidson Nightster are both lighter than this motorcycle. As for the design choices and marketplace, this bike looks really Harley-esque, more so than any other Japanese cruiser. Down to the orange color makes this a very similar bike to ongoing Harley model. You have a choice of gray or orange in 2024 and can get this bike with or without ABS. If you want a more traditional look, you can always get the Shadow Aero. There's no brand opulence when it comes to Honda, which is its biggest difference. The most major selling point for Harley is straight up this particular point, that Harley Davidson is an opulent brand. It brings some glam and socioeconomic status, but not Honda. But it is for sure synonymous with reliability in a lot of aspects, more so than a lot of American motorcycles. This bike gets a 5.5 out of 20 in the total performance/dope factor category, and it sits here on the list of other cruiser motorcycles I have reviewed. Honda Shadow is not a cheap Harley. It's cheaper than a Harley. In other words, it's in some ways a better motorcycle, but priced more reasonably than a Harley Davidson. That's a big distinction to be aware of because this Honda outdoes Harley when it comes to reliability, dealership support, parts, and service pricing and warranty, especially if you live outside of the United States, where Harley dealers are found very sporadically. I do admit it does not have the glam or perhaps the status that riding a Harley brings, but not everyone cares about stuff like that. So if you are an intermediate rider who may occasionally drop a heavy cruiser on its side or a big money saver, then I don't see why Honda Shadow wouldn't be at the top of your shopping list.